Hello, hi, and welcome to EmpathicFire. I am your reader, Jay. This is going to be general messages for the sign of Sagittarius for the month of July 2018. Hello, Sagittarius. How are you doing? Very long time no see. Last time I had a general message for you guys was back in May, right? So, for those who may not know, June was kind of a crazy month for me. I got sick, and that kind of delayed the June messages, and then I got better, and I tried to do a mini reading for the signs, and then I got sick again with bronchitis, which is why you, Libra, and I think Capricorn were the three signs that I actually didn't get any messages to in June. So I think I'll plan something in the future to make it up to you guys. But yeah, I don't recommend getting bronchitis to anybody. It's no fun, especially in the summer. It's really gross. But anyway, so I'm back now to do your regular full spread for your general messages. So you see the main spread there. I'm going to shuffle and get your outcome card, and then your overall I almost said overall income, so maybe that's good for some of you, but your overall energy for the month. Okay, and Sag, I hope you're doing well. Hope everything's going swimmingly in your life. Hope your summer's going well, or your winter's going well if you're down under. And yeah, so we'll just get the outcome and the overall energy, and once all cards are flipped over, I'll begin the reading. If you want to skip directly to that part, just look at the timestamp in the bottom, and you'll be able to get there. Okay? Ooh, did I catch it? I didn't catch it. It fell. 1 second. Okay, Sag. You got your outcome card, which fell like that. Bottom of the deck is the overall energy for the reading. And like I said, I'm going to flip the remaining cards, and once everything is revealed, then I'll go ahead and begin the reading for you, okay? Excuse me. Okay. Where's Sagittarius, please? Please show me where Sagittarius is for July. Here in the middle. Okay, thank you. All right, Sag, you come into this reading for July as the Magician. Oh boy, so that's pretty good, right? You know, you're a man or a woman of your own making. You're able to, use the tools that are in front of you, use resources that are around you to kind of make stuff happen, create the realities or the circumstances or the fortune or the gains that you choose to. Magician is someone who works alongside the energies provided to him or her through the universe. So what do I mean? So basically, how do I want to say this? It's sort of like that whole "if you build it, they will come" mantra or cliche from, what was that, Field of Dreams? That movie Field of Dreams or whatever. But, and that's not the greatest analogy, but that's the visual that popped straight into my head. But it's sort of in that vein of, if you believe in it, if you build it, if you put in the work, if you keep your mind on the task at hand or on the goal or on the outcome that you desire, it will happen. So it's like conscious manifestation is essentially what the Magician does. But like I said, you're using tools and resources around you to make that happen. So it's not just wishful thinking, it's not just prayer or meditation, it's like actual practical steps. And that makes sense because the Magician has all of the different elements in front of him from the tarot. So that's the pentacle, that's the cup, that's the sword, that's the wand, right? And definitely the pentacles are about actual physical objects in this world, things that we hold value or we assign value to, material possessions. Wands are an action-oriented energy associated with fire signs. Of course, Sagittarius, you're a fire sign as well. So as much as there's a spiritual, sort of metaphysical element to the Magician card, there definitely is also a practicality to the Magician card. it's not just vision boards, it's not just meditation and praying and wishing and hoping. You actually have to put some wheels in motion. You have to get up off your butt and actually contribute to the vision that you have for yourself, Sagittarius. And I'm not saying that to lecture you. I'm not saying that to like kind of, you know, critique you or anything like that. I think I'm just affirming what you already know. Like this feels like an energy that you've kind of like, you've been like holding in your back pocket, or you're getting like re-established with this energy. And you know that whatever you want out of life, it's going to require some type of hard work. Like it's not going to come easy. It's not going to come overnight. And you're prepared for it. Like, sorry to say it, Sagittarius, but sometimes you're a sign that isn't necessarily associated with hard work, I think sometimes. And you know, you can debate me on that, and I'd be open to hearing debates about it. But you know, of the three fire signs, you're definitely probably the most spunky, the most spontaneous, the most adventurous. And so when it comes to like grind and like actually being about a specific task and following it through to completion, or staying on top of a task, or staying on top of a certain situation that requires constant progress, or sort of steps to take. Like for instance, for an example, like maybe one of your goals was to get into gardening, or to get into some type of health regimen, right? Where you constantly have to keep on it. You know, you don't just do like one push-up, one sit-up, and like you've got abs made of steel. No, it's like going to take thousands of repetitious motion to make that happen. You don't just plop the seed into the soil, pour a little water on it, and then overnight you've got a beautiful bloom of tomatoes. It just doesn't work that way. You have to cultivate it. You have to work on it and stay diligent and like I said, follow through until completion. So Sag, I think that's something that you, again, I'm not lecturing you, I'm not telling you anything you don't know. You actually do know that, and I think you're relatively prepared for it, because you have the you have the Nine of Cups right to, well, from my perspective, the left side of you. I'm concerned about the Wheel of Fortune in reverse, though. So it might be an issue of like time going on in right now with where you're starting from in this reading, because the Nine of Cups feels really like solid. It feels really clear. This is something that you've been hoping for, wishing for, like I said before, maybe even praying and manifesting or meditating on. And more than that, you're kind of like, some of you might be like, thank you. Okay, so the vision is clear, or the dream is clear, the wish is clear, but some of you might be sort of biting off more than you can chew, or you're asking for more than you can actually handle, which is why the Magician card would be there. It would be why it's sort of highlighting you have to put in work. Like whatever you wish for, it's a practical wish, or practical in the sense of, or excuse me, it's a possibility. Thank you. It's a probability. It's something that can happen, but not all by wishful thinking, right? And I think that's sort of like this posture right now is kind of catching me that way, with this guy with his arms folded in this chair. It's like, I wished for it, so it's gonna happen. Or it's sort of like, you know, like a genie in a bottle. Like I rubbed the bottle, and the genie's just gonna make my wishes come true. It's like sort of relying too heavily on, like, he's, okay, that's why. Like, look at this guy. He doesn't look like he's ready to do anything. It doesn't look like he's ready to act. It doesn't look as if he's prepared to put in any type of work, right? He looks very content to sit there and sort of wait for his dreams to come true, for things to be fulfilled for him. And that's not how things get done in reality, in this reality here on Earth, which we are a part of, right? In our human experience, that's just not how stuff goes down. So there's sort of like an arrogance or cockiness, or almost too assured, too too self-assured. And I don't mean to say too as if like you should reduce or somehow alter what you want. I don't think that's it. I think it's sort of like there's an expectation that it's all going to fall into place. And the reason I cautioned against that is because the magician has the ability to go positive or negative. He has the resources at his disposal, but will he use them is one question, and will he use them correctly or to his best advantage? That's the second question. And then, like I said before, on the other side of you, you have the Wheel of Fortune in reverse. Now, when the Wheel of Fortune comes reverse, it makes me a little, it gives me a little bit of a pause. It gives me a little bit of trepidation, because the Wheel of Fortune upright in itself is it can be a tricky card. It can be a card that goes in your favor, or it can be a card that doesn't go in your favor. When it's in reverse, it's kind of like, too bad, so sad is kind of how this is coming up, or like close but no cigar. And with tarot, and everything is mutable, everything is changeable, right? So I'm saying, oh, too bad, so sad, you almost made it by this, you were so close. That's like the feeling I get, but that doesn't mean that's what's going to happen. And, so take it with a grain of salt is basically what I would say here. And of course, it's a general reading, so it might not apply to you at all, this particular reading. In any case, when the Wheel of Fortune is in this reverse position right now, I'm feeling it like, yeah, like you've tried. Okay. So like, it's going to come two ways. Like you try and you just kind of don't get it, or whatever you're going for. And again, I'm not feeling it super duper. I really just said super duper. Anyway, it's not, like I said, I don't feel it's like strongly anchored in some particular area of your life. But let's go back to, let's say, the gardening analogy, right? So you do start a garden this summer. You started a garden and you planted some flowers, you planted some herbs or whatever. And some of them will come up, they'll sprout, and they'll be good. Some will not be. And I think that's kind of what it is. It's like it's not as if you don't get anything. It's just maybe you don't get everything that you thought you would. So let's say you were hoping to see, out of all the things that you planted, like 90% of it come up, and you would be able to use it and, take it into your kitchen and, use fresh vegetables in your cooking or whatever. But it's more like you're going to get like 60% of the stuff that comes out of the ground is going to be usable. I mean, it's your first time around in this specific scenario. It's your first time around. You've not really ever done this before. You've read up on it, but like I said, the magician has the ability to use any resource in front of him. They're all there. But again, is he savvy enough to use the right ones, and does he utilize them in the correct way? So maybe you didn't get something that is like maybe you didn't weed enough, maybe you didn't fertilize the soil the correct way. Who knows? So what you're expecting, 90% yield out of what you planted, in reality, through the energy of the Wheel of Fortune in reverse, it's going to be more like a 60% yield. Is that a failure? Maybe. If you were expecting 90 and you get 60, that is a definite huge difference. But it's not like nothing came out of the ground. It's not like nothing you planted is usable. Some of it is, just not as much as you thought. So there's this idea going on here, Sagittarius, that you are able and willing to put in the work, but maybe what you're expecting in the outcome is just huge, like you're expecting like a huge windfall. You're expecting like a huge opportunity to come to you, or like a new phase in your life is just going to plop down in your lap through your hard work. It's just going to come and fit easily into your life, whatever you might be anticipating. And I feel as though the Wheel of Fortune is basically saying, sure, but not all of it, Excuse me, one second. One second. Sorry, Sag, I had to cough and I didn't want to do that. It's really gross. But I laughed because the visual that came into my mind as I was explaining, you'll get it, but not everything. It's like we've all been like to a restaurant, or specifically like a drive-through or like a fast food restaurant, and you order like 5 items. You're like, give me the number one, you know, with a Coke, some nuggets, and then also give me the dessert, you know, the ice cream dessert. And you get your food and you get home and you're like, they forgot my nuggets, or they forgot the barbecue sauce or the ranch sauce or the whatever. And you're like, now I gotta go back there. And then you go back and, you know, they give you a hassle like, no, well, you don't have your receipt, we can't give you the nuggets, or, you know, whatever. So there's just like this sort of expectation, and it's not fully recognized or fully, it doesn't come into full fruition, right? So, you know, you still get your fast food fix. You still are able to kind of veg out in front of the TV when you get home. It's just you're not going to be able to enjoy your nuggets as much as you thought you were, right? That can be a real bummer, but, I mean, you got the other stuff, too. So, I'm feeling like you'll be a little upset. Maybe some of you will be pretty damn upset. Some of you will be like, I really wanted sauce with my nuggets. Now I gotta go into the fridge and use this crappy like ketchup or this not great barbecue sauce. Like, it's good for like ribs or like burgers. It's not good for like dollar menu nuggets. So some of you are going to be pretty ticked off about that. You're going to be pretty annoyed that you don't get everything you were expecting to get. You know, and that's expected in life, or that happens in life. We really want the whole shebang, and we just get the shaba. You don't get the shebang, you get the shaba, right? And I think it's kind of like, what's here? Some of you, this might be like a job situation or something to do with your finances, something to do with your resources, like actual, some of you stability. So it could be like a home situation, could be like a situation with housing. And is this a blockage? No, but okay, potential. Okay, thank you. So, similar to the Magician card, this 3 of Pentacles here, coming underneath the 9 of Cups, is basically signaling, again, your willingness to work, your willingness to put in effort. And you've been doing it. I think you've been pretty consistent, Sagittarius. I think that you have sort of taken on your set of responsibilities and you've taken it on seriously. Like, you're not taking it lightly. Like, you're Sagittarius, I'm not sure how serious you ever really are. Like, I don't know that you could ever be as serious as, for example, like a Virgo or a Cancer, or like, you're just always gonna have like a bit of you is just kind of like playful, is kind of like a not daydreamer, like like you're always thinking of a new horizon, right? You're always thinking of something new and adventurous that you could get into. So there's this air about you, usually Sag, where you can be serious, you can be on task, and you can, you know, work on a project or work on, you know, at an actual job, whatever you're doing, and you can do it, but at some point you're gonna, like, there'll be a lull, or you will feel like, you know, maybe I should be doing something else. Maybe I should stop doing this. And it just might be a moment that you feel that way. So that's what I mean. Like, this card, 3 of Pentacles, is usually like indicative of contractual work that is sort of laid out in a structure, or laid out in a specific sequence or a plan or steps, and you kind of follow it through because it's a negotiated thing. So some of you, this is going to deal with actual negotiations or compromises that you're making with people, concessions that you're making with people. Like I said, in a work situation, this might be actual co-workers or teammates that you're working on certain projects with, certain accounts with. And again, going back to this idea of seriousness, I think the Three of Pentacles is pretty damn serious. And with you, Sagittarius, like I said, you can do it, but it would be hard for you to stay consistent or... Thank you. Okay. Or how serious this situation is, like how intense it might be, how grueling it might be, or how demanding it might be, time consuming, all of that makes you feel like there's a big payoff coming with that Nine of Cups, right? So for some of you, I guess to use a Britishism, like this is grafting, like this is hard graft. And because it's like been so intense, it's been so kind of nose to the grindstone for you, or you've been pretty consistent and possibly more consistent than you've been in your recent past, you expect the outcome to be grander than it is. So again, if you're planting a garden, if you're getting into that now. So you went out, you cleared out the shelves at Home Depot or whatever. You read everything, you talked to one of your friends who's a green thumb. You were diligent, you were out there every day checking on stuff, da 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 da. And so because you did everything to the letter, you followed all of the steps, and you were you feel good. You feel like, you know, not in a bad way, not in an egotistical way. You're really patting yourself on the back. And we need to do that. More people need to do that. More people need to give themselves acclaim for their hard work. When it's honest, discernible hard work. Yes. So you recognize your own efforts. And so when you get that not 90% yield, you get it 60%, maybe even 70%, you're like, oh, but I wanted more. I expected so much more. How could that? Why? I did everything that I was supposed to do. How could it turn out this way? So you're a little like shocked. You're a little shocked that, you know, your garden didn't give you everything that you thought it would. You're shocked that you and your partners worked so hard at the presentation, at the seminar or whatever, but you didn't really make that many contacts, not too many vendors, you know, were interested in working with you, whatever it is. So you're kind of like gobsmacked as to, wow, really? I tried my hardest and this is all I get? So there's a little bit of a disappointment there, okay? And the Wheel of Fortune, I think, is connected to all of that, which I just said. And I think yesterday, who had it? I only did 2 videos. Libra? No, Scorpio? Either Libra or Scorpio. Someone had the Wheel of Fortune in their reading previous to you, Sag. And similar to what I'm going to say to you now, I think when I see the Wheel of Fortune, especially lately in the spreads that I've been doing for people, the Wheel of Fortune is showing up, reversed or not, as some sort of test, as some sort of magnifying glass. Like the Wheel of Fortune is trying to pull your attention to a certain area of your life and asking you, so what did you learn here? What do you think the bigger issue is? What do you think your contribution, how did that affect the outcome? Maybe you need to be more aligned with a different outcome or a different mindset. The Wheel of Fortune is just like, kind of like that that tough love, like parent or best friend who just tells you like it is, and they do it for the betterment of your development, and they do it because, you know, they want you to not have to fail completely, to fall on your face completely. But if you fall down and scrape a knee, so what did you learn? You know, and you're like, but I scraped my knee. This is painful. Do you have any peroxide right now? Do you have any Neosporin on you? And the Wheel of Fortune is like, no, I don't. But what did you learn? So I feel like that's kind of here for you, Sagittarius, as well. Is when you don't get everything that you expected to get, I think there's this bigger question that the Wheel of Fortune would want you to ask of yourself. What that question is, I'm not 100% sure. What that question is geared towards, what area of your life is it focused on, I have no idea. But hopefully you will know. And I think this Ace of Pentacles coming underneath the Magician is sort of like, it's twofold. Because it's under the Magician, this reflects your effort. You have made offers, or you have made efforts to something more practical. So like I said, again, the gardening thing, maybe on your team, in your workplace, you took the lead on the project, or, you know, you took a gamble and you called up some you called up some contacts or whatever, or, you know, maybe it's an issue of funding, and so like you called on big donors and you asked them to show up, and maybe they didn't show up. So you kind of, I don't really know exactly how that would work, because it's not my type of it's not my line of work, but I think it's like you kind of can almost burn a bridge if you ask donors or people to fund certain things and they end up saying no, and it's kind of like, oh, now I can't ever ask them for money again. Like, I feel like that might be sort of like a sort of etiquette thing in jobs or careers, where you actually have to sort of, you know, you gotta play your aces. Ironically enough, you gotta play your aces at the right time. And if you play them too soon, or you let them sit on the shelf for too long, you miss the opportunity. So there might be a case where some of you may have reached out to someone and it didn't go well in the workplace. You asked for something, or you were relying on or hoping that someone could step up for you, and they weren't able to. Like, you know, maybe some of you are in charity work right now, or that's sort of where this is gravitating for you. And perhaps, you know, you were telling the people at your charity, I know a person, they're going to make a big donation. I think I can get them for a really big donation. I'm going to contact them. And you contact them, and again, maybe it's not a full out no, I'm not going to donate anything, but maybe you were expecting something like 10 grand, and they're like, I can give you 6. and you're like, oh, I really was expecting 10 grand from this person, or from this organization, or whatever, this company. And they're like, we can go for 6. And not like in a, you know, they're probably like really sorry, like, oh, we would love to do more, but, you know, because of our own financial responsibilities, our own fiscal calendars, we really can only commit to $6,000 for you guys. We love your cause, blah, 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 blah. And of course, you're not going to turn it down. You're, of course, going to take that money, because that's the goal at hand. That's what you're working with, or that's what you're working towards, excuse me. But again, there's this feeling of like, it's not everything you thought it would be. And you worked really, really hard on this person. You thought you had a great connection. You thought you had a solid connection with this person or this organization, and you were like 10 grand in the bag. It came up as 6 grand. So again, this was you extending yourself with the Ace of Pentacles, some of you. Others of you, it's you would be encouraged. So that's sort of like how it plays out in reality. Like, that's sort of like the face-up side of this pentacle, or this coin. On the flip side, the more subtle or nuanced side of the coin is realizing like there's a certain opportunity within that. So, for example, to continue with the whole charity thing. So maybe you reached out to a person or a specific company that you've had a rich history with. You've had good rapport with them. And they give you some money, but it wasn't everything that you wanted. Or maybe it's not even money. Maybe it's like actual donations of like time, or actual resources like, you know, materials or school supplies if you're doing something in the education field, whatever. And they helped you. And you're like, oh man, so now I have to go, and I have to, you know, you go and you kind of go back to the drawing board and you kind of go through your contacts list and you're thinking of more people that you can contact, and you just get back to your regular business. On the other side of this coin is that the person who gave you some of what you expected, maybe now they will talk to their contacts, or they'll spread around what your charity is all about, what your cause is all about. And they're, because maybe they feel bad. We weren't able to give you everything that you asked for. We know you needed 10 grand, but I reached out to my friends in California, unexpected that this person on your behalf, potentially, this is a very specific message, and it might not just be in a work situation, so apply it to your life if it fits, but don't force it to fit. But unbeknownst to you, someone that you basically were working with asked for help from, not help, but asked for donations from, or you had a certain rapport with, they couldn't give you everything that you were looking for, but on their own time, out of their own effort, and their own give a care about your life or your success or your endeavors, Sagittarius, they seek out people on their side, or from their social circles, from their professional contacts, to supplement or to sort of make up the difference. Does that make, I'm going to say, does that make sense? As if you're here and you can answer me, but that's essentially what I'm saying, is to make up the difference and to sort of, be like, we couldn't give you everything that you were asking for, Sag, but I reached out to my friends here. I know a guy over there, and he said he would match my offer. So then you end up getting another 6 grand. So there's that potential for some of you, for some of you. Like, I feel that's like kind of really a small portion of people, if I'm really honest. But and so that's why the Ace of Pentacles is there. So as much as you gave the offer out and it didn't really come into fruition, it didn't really flourish and blossom the way that you hoped it would, so long as you're not like completely sulking, I think that's basically the bigger thing. If it's not the whole, you get an extra offer that you weren't expecting, like somebody else makes a donation. If it's not that, I think the bigger offer is, not the bigger offer, but the flip side of the coin is to realize it's still good work what you're doing. If you still got 6 grand out of the 10, that's great. That's great. It's better than 0. It's better than nothing, right? So don't sort of, what's that? Don't look a gift horse in the mouth. And I've never really understood that, but that's the cliche that they're giving to me right now, which is, again, your expectations might be grand. You were expecting so much, and then when you get less than what you expected, don't go into a sulky mode. Don't do that, because there is the potential in the future for something else to come out of that situation which was dissatisfactory. That's kind of a really like, I don't know what you do in your life, Sagittarius. I don't know what your mindset is. I don't know your personality, whoever you are. I don't know who you are. But there is a message coming through that some people might get a little sulky, get a little like salty if things don't go their way. And that usually isn't a Sagittarius move in my estimation. Like sometimes, maybe a little bit, like momentary. But some of you, okay. Yes, okay. So some of you, there's a potential for you to be in that energy for too long. So I'm quote unquote warning you, but I shouldn't phrase it that way. There's this, I'm being compelled to say, don't fall prey to that sulking, sad sack crap, basically. Okay? Give yourself a day or two to feel that way, but don't stay in that energy for weeks. Like, be able to release it. Release the loss. Thank you. Release the loss. Release the disappointment. Release the aw shucks, or the close but no cigar that I was mentioning before. Recognize it. I think the Wheel of Fortune always wants us to recognize whatever unfortunate circumstance or result comes our way, but you have to then like almost immediately release it. Okay? The Wheel of Fortune is very tricky that way. It spins, for God's sake, so anything that spins is not able to stay in one position for a long time. So it's sort of like that's the attitude, or that's sort of the coping mechanism that you might need to take on. Is like, okay, this was not, I didn't get what I thought I would get. It didn't turn out the way I expected it, but we got to move on to the next thing and realize this was not a complete loss. You know, I hope that's coming across. And the Fool. I think if you're familiar with tarot, I think you already know sort of like the standard interpretation of the Fool. It's, you know, sort of taking a chance, rolling the dice, you know, taking a leap of faith and going towards something blindly, like jumping off this cliff blindly, which can sound really scary, really daunting, perhaps even a death sentence if someone literally blindly jumps off a cliff. But that's not exclusively what I'm feeling here. What I'm more feeling is that this is similar to what I was just saying. It's like a new perspective, where previously this setback, this close but no cigar situation would make you feel really defeated, or make you feel like all your hard work was for nothing. Like some of you are kind of in that all or nothing mode, which is, again, like a strange Sagittarian perspective for you, or perspective for you, Sagittarius, is what I feel. But some of you are in that, and I think you're being encouraged to get back to being your quote-unquote regular, normal Sagittarian self. And what is a normal or regular Sagittarius? Like, going by a textbook definition. Everybody is a very specific individual. You all have different elements in your chart. You got different moon signs, rising signs, Venus, all that good stuff. So, but based on your sun sign position, yeah, based on just the general understanding of a Sagittarius, is like, you're foolhardy. You're like, you don't worry about the fallout. You don't worry about the risk. You are a risk taker. You enjoy risk, and you enjoy change. You enjoy newness. Like, it might sound terrible to some of you, but you actually enjoy upsetting the apple cart. You enjoy destabilizing a situation. Not for the sake of destruction, not for the sake of hurting other people's feelings, or being just blatantly disregarded. You're disregarding the rules or the structure. It's not about that. It's a matter of, what else is there? Can this be better? Can this be different? And you're always wanting to gain newness. I hope that makes sense. So I think that's what you're encouraged to do, is to get back to this whole, well, that is what happened. The garden didn't give me everything I wanted. I didn't get as many donations as I wanted. You know, in other areas of your life, this could also apply. And again, just kind of saying, okay, that's what happened. Now on to the next thing. And not to dismiss what just happened, not to diminish the effect or the impact that it had on your life, but just to get into that energy of not sitting and stewing in disappointment, or stewing in this energy of, I was this close, we were this close to our goal, or I was that close to having, you know, fresh, ripe, juicy tomatoes for my salad tonight. Now I gotta go to the store and buy the tomatoes. Like, you had to have learned something along the way. You had to have gained some type of appreciation, or just have to have spent your time well, you know, out in nature, you know, getting your hands in the earth, getting your hands dirty, breaking a sweat, doing whatever. If it's the charity thing, donations, work situation, you were socializing. You were actually increasing your contacts. You know, you were being, some of you, if this is, again, a work situation, some of you were passed off as a reference. So actually, you got more people that you can call up the next time around. You have to rally up money for a certain project. Do you see what I mean? So it's very similar to that. Like, sort of be humble. Be humble. And for some of you, be grateful. But mostly it's humble. Be humble. Okay? Now, your outcome for July is the Star Reverse. Now, again, Star Reverse is lacking in a healing energy, lacking in a reflective, sort of releasing energy. I feel kind of tense here. So there's this, and again, like I said earlier today with you, Sagittarius, everything in tarot is mutable. So this is all potential. I might be speaking in definite terms, but that's just how the English language works. And I'm being very conversational with you. So I'm not always going to say, but it's just a chance. I'm not always going to repeat that. But I'm repeating it now because I think sometimes we can get wrapped up into, oh, well, that's the outcome, so that's what I have to expect, and that's just what I have to accept. Nothing on this board is something you have to accept. You can change it for the better, for the worse. It's always your choice. Now, the Star in reverse is giving me this feeling of tension. It's giving me this feeling of, for some of you, embitterment. And it's not that deep. Like, okay, it's strange. Like, you're tense and you're maybe a little agitated, or you're frustrated, or like I said, you're disappointed. But why? It's like, but why? It wasn't that bad. If you lost something, if you didn't get as much as you thought you would, close but no cigar, it's not that bad. Like, I'm not trying to condescend to you, but like, that's kind of the feeling that I get. So be aware, I suppose, is the best takeaway for you, considering this card and the reading overall. Be aware, Sag, that it's not that bad. A lot of this might be your own perspective, right? So it's just a matter of maybe changing your mindset, which, again, you started out as the Magician. The Magician, I think I mentioned it to you, has the ability to use his resources and his efforts for good or bad. He can use them for positive things. He can use them for negative things. It really all depends. If he wants to be a miserable person, he will be a miserable person, if that is the attitude and the effort that he puts forth. If he puts forth the effort to be someone who transcends his circumstances or moves past the shortcomings or the deficits or the setbacks, that's what he'll do as well. It's really your call. It's really just your call, Sagittarius. And the Star card, I think, is sort of another warning, which is if you give in to those quote-unquote negative perspectives and mindsets and attitudes, you're not going to feel healed. You're going to feel as if like you've constantly got an itch and you can't scratch it because you're bothered by that result that didn't give you everything that you wanted, everything that you worked for, everything that you extended yourself and put your efforts, in some cases, your reputation, your name, your whatever on the line. Yeah. All right, and then the overall energy for July is the Page of Pentacles. So Page of Pentacles is the lowest of the court cards in the Pentacle suit. And I'm feeling that this is like a novice. This is an apprentice. Like, naturally, all the pages are apprentices, right? But I'm really feeling it here. I think there's like this thing that you're meant to learn, that you're meant to focus on. There's an element of needing to really look at the big picture, right? Big picture? Yes. Look at the big picture. Increase your scope. Thank you. So again, going back to like the donor thing, where they didn't give you everything that you had asked for or what you were hoping for. Look at the big picture. Overall, did you meet the goal? Maybe you did, maybe you didn't. Were you super close or were you way off from the goal? Like that missing $4,000, how much of an impact would it have made? If you still made your goal, the $4,000 would have just been icing on the cake, right? If you were short by, let's say, $5,000, you still would have been short if you had the full 10. You see what I mean? So it's like giving yourself a a larger perspective, a more encompassing perspective, Sagittarius. You didn't get the tomatoes. Oh, but you still were able to, you got the herbs, you got some cucumbers, and maybe you also have an awesome eggplant that you can use for your salad. Like, okay, so the only thing you have to buy from the store is the tomatoes. If you hadn't planted the garden to begin with, or if everything turned out crappy, you would have had to buy everything. So the fact that you only have to compensate or make up for one ingredient that didn't turn out so great, that's not a terrible loss. And the Page of Pentacles is still learning. And I think of all the pages, I think the Page of Pentacles is probably the most self-aware. Like, I think the Page of Pentacles knows he's a page. I think the Page of Cups can get lost in his little cup and he doesn't really know who the hell he is. I think that the Page of Swords might be moving too swiftly, or they're like overly cautious and they kind of can become anxious or neurotic. And the Page of Wands is just sometimes pretty arrogant and egotistical and almost like too optimistic, right? So I think the Page of Pentacles is like, of course, to be totally cliche, but he's the most grounded. He's the one that has the most, like I think I said, proper perspective. He knows his role. He knows that he's got a ways to go before he is a knight, before he becomes a queen or a king of pentacles. So don't get too far ahead of yourself, Sagittarius. I think this whole reading really is talking about what your expectations are and how they match up to reality, and how you shouldn't get too bummed out if those two things are misaligned or don't add up. Don't mirror each other, right? If your expectation was this and the reality is that, don't chuck the whole experience out the window, which is definitely not your usual mode anyway, but there's this feeling of you might feel that way right now. You might be in the damn it all to hell, throw the baby out with the bathwater, and that's not usually what a Sagittarius is all about, but I feel that's how you're operating right now. You don't have to. Like I said, tarot is all about changeability, mutability. None of this is set in stone. So get back to being you, Sagittarius. Get back to being your able to see the higher perspective, able to see the bigger picture. That's definitely usually something you can do in your sleep. You can do it blindfolded, walking backwards while chewing gum, right? All right, Sag, that is your July reading. I hope it resonated with you. If it did, go ahead and leave a comment below. I would love to hear how it, impacted your life, or applied to your life, I should say. Also, hit the like button if you're into that. You can share and subscribe and do all that fun stuff that YouTube allows you to do. And I will see you in about 2 weeks when I come back and I do your general messages for August, okay? Thank you so much, Sagittarius. Take care. Bye.